Welcome back to week 2 of this new schedule: Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Monday being Lex Talk Fashion, Wednesday being a makeup look, and Friday being a lookbook. So this Monday, I thought we would talk about the next fashion trend that I have noticed that has been exploding, which is a return to hyper femininity, which I also love and adore. Of course, it's a double-edged sword, right? So examples of hyper femininity would be Barbie core, cottage core, coquette, ballet core. You get it. Anyway, so these are not just fashion trends, they're an aesthetic. It is a very feminine look. Obviously, I am not wearing any of the colors that would be coquettish or Barbie or ballet, but I do have my bow, so that should count for something, right? And obviously, we love pink here, so there's not any issue with the color pink here. Anyway, so I think the rise of the hyperfemininity is a response to cool girl, sort of androgynous look, where it was more like oversized blazers and just oversized clothes in general, more of a looser, quiet luxury sort of thing that was the trend for a little bit. This is obviously coming after the Me Too movement, which was a movement that, a lot of women, and I'm sure a lot of people did not realize how many women were affected by this Me Too movement, which was essentially to say and admit and share their experiences of being sexualized, sexually harassed, and just basically traumatized by men, generally speaking, be it physical or, online, mental stalking, that sort of stuff. All of which I have experienced all of it. So welcome to being a woman in 2025. This is America. I don't know why I'm laughing. It's a very traumatizing thing. Because of the Me Too movement, it was a reaction to no longer romanticize femininity, and so that's why we got that cool girl look. And then as a response, because that's how fashion works, the femininity became romanticized again. And I think an aspect of that is due to the fact of women doing it for themselves and reclaiming that aesthetic as their own and loving that aesthetic for themselves, instead of doing it to attract a certain of attention, which kind of plays into like the bimbo sort of core as well. So almost a mocking of femininity as well. Not mocking in the sense of, we think being feminine is ridiculous or should be outrageous, but in the sense of to be hyper feminine is to make it our own and not dress for the male gaze, but do it because women feel beautiful and powerful in their own right by wearing these hyper feminine aesthetic clothing, or even accessories. Many women take on this hyper femininity knowingly, understanding that it is playing with tropes, right? Exaggerated femininity. Um, and it kind of goes again with the Lana Del Rey's coquettish sort of look. And it's also uh, playing with, at this time, we had Barbie, right? We had Greta Gerwig's Barbie, and it was this idea of everything is painted in pink, right? The patriarchal standard. And yet in Barbie world, all the women were the ones in power, and they did it in pink and in heels. you know um it is not a bad thing to like pink because it is considered feminine. That's why there was like such a backlash for men wearing pink, because for men to wear pink was a feminine thing, and to be anything femme was embarrassing. And then it goes and plays into this idea that men should hate anything that's feminist or feminine. And if you just so happen to show anything that has to do with femininity, be it wearing the color pink, or wearing heels, or having long hair, having a skincare routine, like, eating healthy, eating salads, like the craziest thing, right? Um, you would be accused of being feminine in some way. And that accusation was somehow an attack on their masculinity and something to be ashamed of. And when you make women the enemy, or anything feminine the enemy, men and boys are going to see feminine as something bad. And women are women. Generally, they're feminine. And it just continues this idea, this horrible idea that femme is weak, it's less than, it should not be considered as anything important. And when you, as a man, or grow up in that male dominated idea that anything feminine is less than, um when you see women, when you view women, this is where the misogyny comes from, or even the internalized misogyny from other women, because they don't want to be seen as less than, or weak, any of those things. So they take on, more masculine ways, even in terms of what they're wearing. So this hyperfemininity is a way of taking back that power and saying femininity is not a bad thing. There's nothing bad about it. But again, if boys and men see femininity as something they should be ashamed of, they should hate, they should want nothing to be a part of, they're going to automatically see women as the same thing. And then women do not become, or just are not humans in their eyes. They are less than. They are creatures, beautiful creatures to be used, to be taken advantage of, creatures that give them a standing in society to show off to the other parts of patriarchy. So, this idea that femme is bad is, I think, the reason why hyperfemininity has come back into play, because women want that femininity to be viewed as not necessarily serious, but beautiful and their own. And again, not dressing for the male gaze. The unfortunate part, like there is for all fashion, the double-edged sword. So there's a huge contradiction when it comes to uh, hyperfemininity in the patriarchy and the way that it is seen um, from a male gaze. So we have hyperfemininity being praised, right? Because it is absolutely playing into the patriarchal standards of what women should look like, uh, right? So think of like 1950s beautiful housewife glamour, right? But then it can also be hyperfemininity when women or people wear this style aesthetic of clothing can be dismissed because a woman wearing this aesthetic could be seen as unserious. I think like I said before, the bimbo stereotypes, or even the pink collar, where if a woman walks into an interview, she is automatically viewed as less than or not as qualified as, say, her male counterpart. And so today's version risks this trap of, when it comes to the ballet corps, um, there's that idea of feminine fragility, right? Being frail or delicate. And then when it comes to the coquettish, there's this idea where women should be covered up, right? It's this version of purity. Um, and that modesty can lead to that purity culture, which is very detrimental, especially to women, um, because it takes away the perceived woman's choice, because the only reason why she's in this purity cycle is because she's worried about what other people think of her and how she is viewed, and that her only value is that of being pure, right? I don't think I need to add to that. Sorry, it's a traumatizing topic for me. So it's a bad way to experience life and let it rule over the decisions you make and the life you make for yourself. Just trust me on that one. So I guess the question here is it a regression, or is it reclaiming femininity? And what you need to recognize is that hyperfemininity, when applied to oneself, when it is, and this is the key factor here, about choice, is about reclaiming that power as feminine and femininity. Um, because not all women, uh, genuinely, like in the whole world, not all women are allowed to be feminine, uh, and and to have this choice is quite a big deal, because once again, race is played into this fashion aesthetic, right? White women in frills is considered romantic and soft, whereas maybe a woman of color would be viewed more as ghetto or um, somehow childish. So there's this juxtaposition here, and once again, it's about culture and society, and even in a woman's world, in the world of feminism and feminists, not all women are equal. So, right? Because men and society do not see even women equally. It's that old saying that you see or read in Animal Farm: some are more equal than others, which is a huge contradiction. Equal is equal. There's no such thing as more equal. Anyway, So, I guess the big question here, which I just said was, is this progress or are we backsliding? And the answer here lies in nuance. If it's playful and autonomous and something that women choose for themselves, it can be liberating, it can be fun, it can be an expression of oneself artistically um, and otherwise, right? Like, this is who I am. However, then there is that expectation that women should be feminine, and is that fair um, for anyone? My final thoughts on hyperfemininity: cottagecore, balletcore, um, Barbiecore, bimbocore, any of those, you know, all that stuff. Final thought would be for myself assessing what it is. Hyperfemininity isn't inherently good or bad. It really comes down to who controls the narrative. When women wear it as a deliberate aesthetic and not as a mandate, not as, you know, projected and told that this is what they should be due to patriarchal standards, it can be liberating and powerful. See, but then when it is the only way to be seen as acceptable as a woman, that is when it can be used to take women's power. And it is basically the patriarchy in pink in disguise. And so let me leave you with this. Can a woman wear her bow as armor? Or does her bow still tie her to the old rules of the patriarchy? Let me know in the comments below what you think. I would love to hear your thoughts. And yeah, I hope you have an amazing day. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Please stay tuned. Wednesday, we are going to do a fun makeup look that has to do with this sort of hyper femininity. And Friday, I am going to share with you different ways that I'm going to style my rhinestone bodysuit with the awesome, what's it called? Dress haul that I got last week. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, anyway, thank you so much for spending time with me today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow with a short, but then Wednesday. You get it. New schedule. All right. Until next time.